So beautiful people, I actually met Jamaine Ortiz a few months ago in Dubai before this fight was announced. And I'm not gonna lie, first of all, shout out Jamaine Ortiz. What an unbelievable human. Forget the fighter. Incredible boxer, but even a better human. I told him, guys, I was like, listen man, I feel like you let yourself down. In that Teofimo fight, you moved way too much. I didn't tell him you ran, but I mean, I told him you just moved too much. And even in the second half of the Lomachenko fight, and you know what he told me? He was like, why do all of you guys only focus on that fight? That was the only time where I ever fought in that manner. If you go back and watch all of my old fights, I'm a walk forward, juggernaut. I was like, listen, I can't disagree. But in that fight, but he promised that he will get back. He will go back to the old Ortiz. The Ortiz that used his speed, athleticism, power, ferocity, youth to overwhelm his opponents with combination punching, switch hitting, everything and anything you can think of, this man possesses. And I actually just listened to him on the Ring Magazine platform. He said that in this fight, it's kill or be killed. Either he's gonna knock me out or either I'm gonna knock out Keyshawn. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna lie, I got goosebumps. Beautiful people, when I heard that. I was like, this is exactly what I want from Jamaine. The man is unbelievable. And I also met Keyshawn Davis in New York in that Times Square event. I went up to all of these unbelievable fighters who I grew up watching, grew up with actually. Grew up, me and Ryan, Teofimo, Shakur were all around the same age. So I grew up literally watching these guys that are my age flourish. And you love to see it. But one man that I didn't go up to was Keyshawn Davis because he was simply acting like an idiot. I mean, he looked like an absolute fool. He was, running around Mike Tyson, grabbing everyone, jumping up and down. You would have thought that the man was on, something that night. I don't know if he was drunk or what, but I was like, man, I'm not going up to this guy. He's... But that doesn't mean that Keyshawn is also not a great human. Maybe that was actually my only time seeing him, and maybe, he was extra turned up that night. And, many things happened to him after that event. Few weeks later, he missed weight versus Edwin. He retired. He got stripped of the belt. And I wasn't shocked because when I saw him in New York, I was like, man, this guy, all these people around him, they're so humble, they're so composed, and they got, when you talk about the money, status, championships, they all got like 100 times more than this man, yet he's acting like an absolute idiot. But, you'd hope that he learned from his mistakes, and I pray to God, and I actually made a video after he got stripped, and I was like, listen guys, let's go easy on the man. He's a human at the end of the day, and he's going to come back and be a champion again, God willing. He will, Keyshawn is the truth, as Shakur Stevenson says, and I agree with that. But let's get into this fight. What an unbelievable matchup. Jamaine Ortiz, switch hitter, underrated power, unbelievable speed, hungry, and I'm not gonna lie, after that Teofimo fight, I was like, this man will never, ever, ever get another opportunity to fight on a big platform, on a big card. But 2 years later, look at him now. And I believe this is do or die for Jamaine. Either he wins this fight in spectacular fashion, or either we will never see this man on a big platform again. Love the man, met the man, unbelievable guy, but I gotta be honest. And for Keyshawn Davis, I don't know what to make of Keyshawn, to be honest. The man is all over the place. He's fighting at 140 for the first time in his career, and he's saying this will be my final fight at 140. I'm moving to 147 in my next fight. I'm knocking out Jamaine Ortiz. Jamaine Ortiz is small. He's not on my level. He's this, he's that. He's changed trainers, fired Team Crawford, Bomac, Bernie, Saul, and Red, the crew of Bud Crawford. He fired them. I don't know why, but the man definitely has a reason. There's a reason why he fired them. You don't fire the best team on the planet for no reason. So it's going to be interesting to see what Keyshawn Davis shows up. Now listen, Keyshawn Davis is also very skilled. He doesn't do anything that stands out, but his timing is spectacular. And when someone doesn't really have, let's be honest, he doesn't look like a superstar. There's nothing really about Keyshawn that makes you go like, you know what, this guy is gonna jump onto the global stage and become a global superstar. I'm gonna be honest, and I don't think both men, Jamaine or Keyshawn, will ever become like superstars. They might become stars in the sport of boxing, but they gotta win this fight. They gotta win this fight and make a statement. Co-main event, MSG for Teofimo and Shakur. It doesn't get any bigger than this, beautiful people. It does not get any bigger than this. Now, Keyshawn Davis, he's saying that he's gonna knock out Jamaine, and Jamaine is saying that he's gonna knock out Keyshawn. And I know Jamaine's game plan. He's gonna press the action. He's gonna go after Keyshawn because let's be honest, Keyshawn Davis fought no one. Dennis Baranchik is the worst champion I have ever seen in my entire life. That was the easiest championship win in all of my years of watching boxing over a decade. That was the worst champion I've ever seen, Dennis Baranchik. That's why Keyshawn was like a massive favorite, like a 4-1 favorite versus Baranchik. And Keyshawn did what he was supposed to do. And also, the Nahir Albright fight, he got wobbled in that fight, but he dominated most of it. Both men actually fought Nahir Albright. Nahir barely was able to touch Jamaine. And Nahir beat Keyshawn's brother and wobbled Keyshawn. But boxing math doesn't really work, doesn't really add up. So that was in the past. And Keyshawn is a way better fighter now. So is Jamaine. Now, who do I think will win this fight? You gotta favor Keyshawn. But who do I want to win the fight? You'd love to see Jamaine Ortiz stand on his promise and knock out Keyshawn Davis. You'd love to see the underdog come out on top. But this is such a tough fight, guys. This is almost like a warm-up fight for Keyshawn, get-back fight after his hiatus and after his short retirement and troubles. Now the man, there's no secret, he got caught smoking weed, got suspended. And I don't know. I really don't know what Keyshawn has been up to in the past year. But let me tell you this. I heavily favored Edwin De Los Santos to knock him out. But he showed up like 5 pounds overweight, blew the fight away, blew the event away. Brothers lost on the night. It was just a disastrous night for the Davis brothers. In this fight, Jamaine Ortiz gotta stand on his promise. He gotta pressure. Because listen guys, does Keyshawn have the best chin in the world? We don't really know yet. Keyshawn has never, ever fought a puncher. But Jamaine Ortiz, let me tell you, he definitely doesn't have the best chin. Teofimo rocked him to the body, hurt him to the body, rocked him to the head. Lomachenko hurt him many times. Antonio Moran had him out on his feet. Joseph Adorno, you might have thought that I forgot about that fight, that draw in on Jamaine's record. That wasn't a draw in my opinion. I believe he lost that fight and he got knocked out. But he woke up again and continued the fight and he showed the heart of a lion. But Jamaine does definitely, without a question, doesn't have the best chin. I'm going to be honest. But we don't know about Keyshawn's chin also. Now, who do I believe got, better punch selection? Keyshawn. Who I believe is faster? Jamaine. Jamaine is faster, more athletic than Keyshawn. But his chin, I don't know if it... I think the reason why he ran versus Teofimo is because he was scared of the power. Even though Teofimo, who has Teofimo knocked out, if you actually think about it. I was there, I was front and center at Teofimo's last fight. I was at the Times Square event, traveled to New York, watched that fight. Teofimo didn't really show anything crazy when you talk about power or, ferocity. But Jamaine fought like he was fighting Deontay Wilder that night. And I believe Keyshawn Davis will catch and shoot with Jamaine, and that's how he probably will knock him out, or high guard and push him back to the ropes. Now listen, both men don't want to be near the ropes in this fight, because when Jamaine has you up against the ropes, he lets go of like 8, 10, 12 punch combinations. And Keyshawn, if I'm not mistaken, got hurt bad and wobbled against the ropes versus Nahir Albright. And Keyshawn Davis, his style revolves around being in the center of the I was going to say cage, but the center of the ring. So both men can't give up grounds, and they're not going to give up grounds. Both men will stand and trade. So it's all going to be about who lands first and who can hold and withstand more punishment. History shows us that Keyshawn, even though he hasn't fought anyone, in my opinion, he got the better chin. Now, who does have the better power? I don't know. Both men got decent power, but both men don't really have crazy power. You gotta favor Keyshawn, but you'd love to see the underdog, Jamaine Ortiz, come out on top in this fight. Let me tell you this, beautiful people, I cannot wait for this matchup. I'm probably more excited for this matchup than the main event. That tells you something. That tells you that the stakes couldn't be any higher. It's do or die for Jamaine. And it's also now or never for Keyshawn. You've been telling us that you're the superstar, that you're this pound for pound elite level fighter. But if you don't beat Jamaine, then you can never really be in that discussion, at least for the next few years. But almost there, Keyshawn Davis, Jamaine Ortiz, bring on the fight.